Hey everybody, Civil War is almost here, and I thought it would be a cool idea to talk about the Rotten Tomato ratings comparing all the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies from Iron Man and onwards. What are the top highest? What are the lowest ones that Marvel has gotten so far? Let's do this. So, if you don't know, I should mention that right now, currently on Rotten Tomatoes, Captain America Civil War has a 94% with an 8 out of 10 average rating. So that means 77 fresh reviews and only 5 rotten ones so far. So far, so good. This movie is knocking it out of the park. People are loving it. And unlike, Batman v Superman, which kind of sucks, I didn't think it was that bad, but unfortunately critics did. Critics are loving Captain America Civil War. So what are the other Marvel movies that have gotten, good reviews or bad reviews? I'm going to tell you now. All of Marvel films have gotten fresh reviews. All of them haven't gotten lower than a 60%. I'm going to tell you which one is the lowest one and which one is the highest one. Not counting Civil War, but just to let you know, because Civil War's rating is going to keep moving up and down. But just to let you know, this is not going to involve Civil War. At number 12, we have Thor: The Dark World with a 66%. That's right, Thor: The Dark World, the second Thor film in Marvel's Phase 2 lineup, is the lowest scored film of the MCU. That's not actually too bad if you think about it. 66% of critics loved Thor: The Dark World. That's actually pretty good in my opinion. I mean, it could have been worse. At number 11, we have The Incredible Hulk with a 67%. Obviously 1% higher than Thor: The Dark World. Not too bad. I consider both of these movies pretty underrated. I think they should be a little bit higher, like at least in the 70s. Come on, guys. Come on, critics. Really? A lot of you didn't like it that much? Yeah, whatever. You're only less than half. At number 10, Iron Man 2 with 72%. I don't know where this movie is going, getting all this hate all of a sudden, but I have heard people turn on Iron Man 2 in recent years. Not as bad as Iron Man 3, though, but obviously that's not with critics. That's more with fanboys. So but 72% is actually still pretty good. So if that's the worst Iron Man has to offer, that's not that bad. At number 9, Avengers: Age of Ultron with a 75%. Obviously not as good as the Avengers. I'm guessing critics felt the same way. But at least there were still some critics that really enjoyed it, and that's why it has 75%. The original Thor is at 77%. One of my all-time favorites. I love both Thor movies, so it's good to see the Thor movies, at least one of them, having a much stronger percentage than Age of Ultron. Next on the list, Captain America, the First Avenger with a 79%. I'm actually surprised a lot of more people liked it than some of the movies that I just mentioned, because Captain America, the First Avenger, is actually my least favorite of the Marvel films. But just because it's my least favorite doesn't mean it's not an enjoyable film. I actually still really enjoy it. I think I even give it an 8 out of 10 for the most part. Most of the Marvel movies that I've given are 8s or 9s out of 10. And so, obviously, I still really enjoy that movie. Just out of all the MCU movies, I think it's the weakest of the bunch. Also at 79%, Iron Man 3, my favorite Iron Man movie. And some fans have trouble with this one because, the Mandarin situation. But if you're not a comic book nerd, don't worry, it might not bother you. If you know somebody like myself that loves superheroes, that, likes it when the movies stick true to the source, but I'm also able to remember and remind myself that, the movies are not the comics. They can be what they want to be. I get the argument with the Mandarin, but sometimes you guys have to step back and look at the movie for what it really is. And it was a very entertaining movie. I mean, even the critics loved it, so come on, get over it already. With an 80%, we have AntMan. That's right, starring Paul Rudd. This was the end of Phase 2, And what a fun movie this was. I do think that I am a little bit surprised that a lot more people liked it more than some of the other Marvel films, but I'm not going to argue against it. It is a fun film. Number 4 on the list with an 89% is Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Very strong rating. Obviously, a lot of people really like this one. I'm not surprised because I'm one of the people that puts it in my top 2. That's right, it's my second favorite Marvel film right after the First Avengers film. And it's just a great film all around, one of the most well-directed. I mean, even honest trailers said it themselves.
Watch as Cap and 2 non-superheroes end up actually kicking a lot of ass together in a really entertaining, well-directed movie. What? We have to be honest, it's good.
With a 91%, we have the surprise hit, the one that everyone thought was going to fail, Guardians of the Galaxy. Another great fun film from Marvel, and something that was really the underdog of that year, the one that people thought, like, is this gonna hit? I mean, it has a talking raccoon and it has a giant tree as two of its main characters. Could this work? Will it work? Well, it looks like the critics thinks it works, and so did the box office. So next on the list with a 92%, we got the original. That's right, the very first Avengers, the movie that really started this cinematic universe. After all the characters had their own films individually, this movie was the one that people didn't know if it was going to work. It was the biggest gamble Marvel, or any studio for that matter, was ever going to make. And Marvel knocked it out of the park, showing that, yes, you can connect these films and you can make it feel organic without being too forced or awkward or all that. Like, how is Iron Man going to interact with a character like Thor, who's from a completely different type of movie? And they made it work thanks to Joss Whedon, the king of all geeks. And this was a really well-crafted film, fun all around, and not even Age of Ultron could capture that magic that the first Avengers had got. Those chills we got when we first saw that trailer, we saw that camera pan around all those characters together. It was an exciting feeling that I think it's hard to capture that type of feel again. I mean, DC could have done it, but I'm going to admit I didn't feel that sense of, wow, amazing. These characters are on the screen together. Marvel did it right, and it's no surprise that the critics really loved it, and it is no surprise that it is still the highest grossing superhero film of all time. And finally, with a 94%, just like Captain America's Civil War, we got the original Iron Man, the one that was made as if they didn't know if this was going to be a hit or not. This was their first movie. Marvel Studios, this was their first legit film, and it knocked it out of the park. They looked at it like an independent film. They made it like an independent film, just with a higher budget, and it worked. They took a gamble on Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, and now nobody can see this guy being replaced. The fact that it's still the highest rated Marvel film that Marvel has done, and critics loved it all the way, it shows the testament that this movie really has. So that being said, guys, that's it. That's the movies, the Marvel films on Rotten Tomatoes. Hope if you were interested in, knowing what are the highest rated films from critics on Rotten Tomatoes. Not that critics always matter, but a lot of people are always wondering, like, what are the ratings on Rotten Tomatoes. Don't always take the percentage, though, as fact. I always say, go in, watch the movies yourself, and decide for yourself what movies you like or don't like. But sometimes you're curious about it, you want to see the percentage, and the fact that Marvel has their lowest scored film is a 66%, I think that shows that their track record for entertaining films, whether it's it was good or not so great or great, it shows that in this rating system that a lot of people really enjoy them. And once you watch some of these Marvel films, you'll see why. And until next time, guys, I'm stopping it here. Like this video, subscribe to my channel, you know the drill. And until next time, take care.